just me.
Hi.
The problem. Yeah.
No more singing.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I think that's actually a great way to go into this because
Yeah, true.
I think a lot of the goals I've ever set for myself, the problem has been me. Either I like mentally finagled myself out of doing the things I needed to get towards that goal, or I didn't do the things I needed to do for that goal.
So if you were to start your fitness journey over again, what would you do different?
I would probably set very clear intentions and goals. I think often I've set kind of very like loose goals, like I want to look better or something very general and not, I didn't get like super specific. And I'm also super guilty of whenever I try something new or see something, like I remember going to the CrossFit games, like I'm gonna get into CrossFit because everyone there was just so badass, and not, I've never taken a CrossFit class, like that was very short-lived. So really adhering to and picking a very specific goal and just sticking with it.
Yeah, I feel like I share a similar thing where I feel like I finagled, but not because you just don't know. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of people's goals at first. They're like, they see something and they're like, I want that.
Yeah.
And then they think, I just have to go to the gym to do that. Or I just need to go out for running like twice a day and do like 10K or something. And it's just, I think if I were to start my fitness journey again, is that I would have sat down and consulted with an expert in the industry to actually find out what the battle plan is, what should be my milestones, my benchmarks, to set me up for success.
Like accountability?
Or guidance.
I think it's more just a realistic scope of the plan. I think that's where I'm landing, because like you always think like, and it's going to be for any kind of goal that you have, like whether it be professional, personal, whatever. You just think, I just want to get to this point. You always think about like the end point, and you don't really think about the journey involved. It's always just destination. And I think that's where I share it with you. It's like, I feel like I finagled at the beginning.
That we're so focused on the destination that we don't actually know what it entails to get there. Like again, like we see these people like incredible physiques, like people stepping on stage, things like that. It's like, that's not easy. I know people probably think, oh, it's just proper nutrition and training. It's like, it takes so much. It's a mental struggle, it's a physical struggle. Like, much respect to anyone who just takes it to that level in any sport or athletics.
It's almost like taking a bird eye view, right? And having an outlook of what you're doing, what can be improved, and that's where that comes in really handy if you do have a coach or someone guiding you, because that's basically what they do. You report to them and they take in a look outside of it that you often don't see because you're so hyper focused on that end goal, and you can be like, okay, let's put back those building blocks. That's why we program in blocks as well. You focus on that block, and the next block focuses on something else or builds on that. And I think that's super important. I really like the idea of both of the things you said. If I was looking at my own fitness journey, and if there's only one thing that I could change, only one, like there's a lot I would change, but if there was only one, I like both of those approaches. But for me and my own journey, it's probably going back to nutrition. And I had a coach pretty early on, and she introduced me to macros and tracking, but I was never honest. So I think I wasted a lot of time training really, really hard, but never eating enough. And I would report to her that I ate enough, but I never did. So I really just messed up my own.
You just self-sabotage.
Yeah, I self-sabotaged myself, and I didn't even realize that until later. And I would always be like, oh, I'm a hard gainer, and I don't gain weight, and I can't build muscle, I can't do those things. I'm like, well, you bloody didn't eat enough.
Like, you're lying to yourself.
You're lying to yourself. You're not seeing progress. And I then hopped coaches a fair bit because I wasn't seeing progress, but I think I've also lacked the end goal, because I think we touched on this before. When you are building muscle, it's just such a slow progress that I didn't see a lot of change early on. So I would get really demotivated, and I then didn't eat enough because I also was scared of like gaining weight and looking bigger and all those things. But really all I did was like self-sabotaging over and over again, wasting all this money on my coaches. And it wasn't until I found this one coach and I had a really good consult with her, and by that stage I was already a PT as well, but still sabotaging myself. And she's like, well, how are you going to help your clients if you can't even do it yourself? And I'm like, that is
deep.
such a fair point. That was so deep. And we had a really good session, and her onboarding was more, okay, let's get into like your feelings, like why are you so scared of gaining weight, what's going to happen? And then I would bring up things like, I'm scared that people don't take me serious if I gain weight as a PT, or if I'm quote unquote chubbier, or if I don't look a certain way, because you have that image in your head that a PT needs to be like ripped and have a six-pack. I don't know why, but that was just so stuck with me that I was so afraid to change that I actually never stick to the plan, and I lied to my coaches, which is so ridiculous when you look back, that I would eat a certain amount, but I never did. And it wasn't until her going through that with me where I realized what I'm actually doing. And then that was when I actually started seeing change, because I would start fueling myself. I would start to understand macros. I would then think and switch it around, because in my head I was like, okay, cool, if I go through this journey, how many of my clients are going to go through the same thing? And I would attract people that are wanting to gain muscle because they had like similar interests, similar journeys to me, but I wouldn't actually be able to help them because I can't help them with the mindset challenges that come with building muscle and getting uncomfortable and getting a bit more fluffy, or whatever you want to call it, because it's all part of the process. But I'm very much a believer that if you want to teach something, you have to go through it yourself. And 100%. Now I'm like, oh my God, I can actually help people now, because I know exactly what it feels like. And it does feel really average on some days. And you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, damn it. Yeah. Don't look a certain way. Maybe I should cut again. And it's like the constant thing of like, oh, maybe I should cut again. Maybe I should cut again. And yeah, if I was going to do something different, it's probably like 3 years of my fitness journey that I wasted not seeing enough progress, not getting stronger, because I would lie of what I ate.
My argument to that is, having gone through those 3 years of realizing like, hey, nothing's changing, and maybe feeling like you're hitting that roadblock, because again, that's something so relatable. Like, a lot of people change their fitness goals or stop doing whatever they were doing, or don't adhere to their protocol because they're hitting that roadblock. And as annoying, I know whenever someone says it to me, I get so annoyed. I'm just like, buzz off. But like, it's so valuable going through that, like hitting those roadblocks again and again, and realizing, okay, I really stuffed this up. You learn from it every time you quote unquote mess up or take a wrong turn. I think it's just as valuable as moving towards the goal. You learn what didn't work for me and what might not be working for someone else. So if someone else is also, hitting that roadblock, 'cause I've had clients and I've done the exact same thing as well, where I'm like, I want to get bigger, but I know I'm not eating enough. As soon as I start getting towards that goal, I get like scared, and I do this whole cycle. And if I have a client that I'm not seeing progress with, and they're not seeing progress, there's probably a likelihood they might be doing the exact same thing. So I think those roadblocks are incredibly valuable.
I totally agree with that. I feel I'm not regretting the journey, so that wasn't like speaking out of regret. I'm super, super grateful that I had to go through this and had to learn all this, because now I can apply it to my clients. But because I had to go through this, I don't want them to make the same mistakes, and now I can teach them hopefully in a quicker way to get to their results faster by discovering some of the roadblocks that I had to work through.
We sound like our parents.
I know.
I was like, I think I need to go through all the mistakes.
This is a counseling session today.
I feel like the mistakes are necessary. They're not even mistakes. I shouldn't even call them mistakes, but those lessons are necessary. How many times I was told, don't do this, don't do that. I was like, why? I'm going to go do it anyways. And you realize later why. And I think it's more valuable realizing for yourself why doing it in that way is so important.
But I think also, like, you hit a really interesting point, because early in my personal training career, I was very much, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. You just, those black and white rules. And then as I evolved in my career, it turned into, why do you want to do that? If that's something that's really important to you, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the point that you touched on earlier, like enjoying the journey. And I think one of the biggest mindset switches that I have recently made is moving from wanting to be perfect and getting all this stuff done to like, hey, I'm a learner and we're going to make mistakes and it's all part of it. So might as well come along for the ride and enjoy it while you can, and focusing more on the way on getting there rather than the end result, because as soon as you hit that end result, you want to hit another one. Yeah. You'd never be satisfied and you'd never be happy if you're chasing like result after result. So I think really embracing the suck and embracing the journey is super important as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the reality is there is no destination, because as soon as you get to one place, there's always another place. Like, do you go on vacation one time, you're like, oh, I went on vacation and now I have nothing else to see and I've done life. Yeah. Like, no, there's always going to be more. There's always going to be a new benchmark. And, you know, again, that phrase, like, enjoy the journey, I think it gets said so much in this context that it sort of like loses its meaning. Because I even forget, I'm like, when someone tells me to enjoy the journey, and I'm just like,
smell the roses.
I just want what I want. But it's so incredibly important. You have to not be completely miserable and negative and, you know, dragging your feet to get closer to your benchmark.
We talk about, like, I think I've contributed to this conversation so far as if I've learned the lesson, but I'm still having to learn the lesson. I think my context is that whenever I, you know, in the different training styles that I've ever partaken in, from martial arts, you know, CrossFit, whatever, I've done some sort of amateur competition in each, and I'm always hard on myself about trying to excel it to an elite level when I'm like, I've only really been doing this for a year. Like, why do, like, you know what I mean? Right now, like, as I do Olympic lifting, I'm in the masters category. I see what their numbers are, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna smash that. It's like, really realistically, I've only begun refining that skill for the last year, as if I'm gonna pick up, you know, whatever many kilos. And it's just that constant reminder of, like, stop thinking about the end destination. Just, like, have fun. Just have fun. And I think that's what's the reason why I've changed training disciplines so many times, is because what I've found to be a recurring pattern is I get to a stage where, okay, fine, I'll compete, and then I'm so hard on myself that I fall out of love with it and I need to remove myself from it. I nearly ran into that last year in the last comp. Well, I never got to do the comp because I injured myself 2 weeks out from comp, and that was a really hard slap on the face. And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm done with, you know, Olympic lifting. Like, I'm going to move on to I'm going to go back to bodybuilding. I'm getting older. I'm just longevity. And I think in the last 2 months when I went back, it was because I was like, no, I actually really enjoyed doing it. I miss doing it. I need to stop self-sabotaging and putting all this unnecessary pressure that no one else puts but me. And that's what forces me to hate it at the end. So I think, I talk about, like, wisdom as if, like, you know, I've learned it all. I'm still learning the lesson to this day.
But I think that's exactly the point. Like, we're always going to learn our lessons and always going to be learning new things and discovering new things. But to your point as well, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a competition in November and I'm going to qualify for states. And in my head, I'm already like, and then after that, I'm going to do the boxing comp here and I'm going to do that. And then after that, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, stop, like, get there first. Like, let's stop adding goal after goal after goal and, like, chasing those things. But it can be super challenging as well.
Yeah, I think the thing that I always regret, if we're going to talk about, like, if I were to start my fitness journey again, is the thing that I'm always telling myself is, if I'd only start earlier, if I only started when I was in my 20s, I could be, like, here. And I think that's part of the whole thing of, like, just freaking be present. Just be present and enjoy the damn thing. Like, you started it because you found it fun. Don't stop having fun. Like, because as soon as it's not fun anymore, you can get injured, like me.
I think that's the best tip. It's to have fun. I've done different kinds of, like, sports or training for, I'd say, most of my life, and it has to be fun. Like, I've been in love with a sport and then fallen out of love with sport and tried to make myself keep doing it at a competitive level, and it's just really not a good time.
No.
You know, we're here to talk about like regrets, but I think each step or misstep is just as important as the success.
But that's why elite level athlete, like professional athletes, have a mindset coach. They have a whole coaching team, but one of them is mindset coaching, because when you are at that level and you're so fixated on, like, you know, championships, number one, what it, like, win, it can very quickly turn into like, this sucks. Like, I've got to train like 3 days a week, 3 times a day. Like, I don't really get to see my friends. I don't really get to, like, blah, blah, blah,
See
blah.
your family even.
Yeah.
Like, when push comes to shove, are you going to stick with it?
Yeah.
And I mean, even talking at like a, you know, not an elite athlete level, that's with any kind of training. Like, when push comes to shove, like when work ran late and you have to push your session back, or this, you know, circumstances aren't ideal, or, you know, a tragedy, like whatever that external circumstance, are you going to come back to it? Are you going to get it done? And if the answer is no, then I would encourage someone to continue looking for something that they would say yes to that answer. Because the reality is, like, sometimes I don't want to, resent is too strong of a word, but I'm not enthusiastic to train all the time, you know?
No.
Sometimes, like, you know, my puppy's there and I just want to, like, I won't go down that, but sometimes I don't want to train. And I come back to it because it's so ingrained in something that I've been doing for so long, and I know once I'm there, there's, you know, that feeling I get.
Make me feel better.
Well, like, I let that voice take over me this morning because I didn't train. I was like, I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. I'm just gonna sleep some more. Yeah, just sleep. Yeah, it's so true. Like, you're never gonna feel amazing like 100% of the time.
No.
So it's you have to have. I think when I've had like new clients, like during those first months when you're doing a lot of discovery, like you're trying to, you know, find, you know, the chemistry between your relationship, you know, as you go, and whenever they say, I like doing this class, like, is that going to be like good for, like, in line with my goals? And it'll be a class that I don't care for, like, you know, the Les Mills, the body pump. I have like this weird love-hate relationship with body pump. I hate body pump, actually. That's a lie. And so if they, that's a complete lie. Sorry, lying. But if they say, I love body pump, like, go.
Yeah.
Like, whatever gets you in the door, if you love it, just go do it. There's no right or wrong. Like, as long as you're consistent, and it, you know, you enjoy it, like, just go.
I had a very similar thing with Pilates. Like, clients would always be like, oh, I do Pilates. I'm like, you could be using your time so much wiser. And I've recently reframed it. I'm like, well, if they enjoy going to Pilates, like, so be it. Like, let them go move. Like, don't take them away from doing something they enjoy. If you enjoy yoga and if you enjoy Pilates, and if that gets you out of the house and that fills your cup, perfect, keep doing that, because in the end of the day, you got to enjoy the things, and you're not going to go back to something long term if you hate it.
I had this one client that liked doing this workout video on YouTube, and it's an Asian based channel, so, you know, their perceptions of like fitness and health are a little bit archaic. They've got a long way to go, but the video workout that she really loved doing, it was called Swan Arms. And so all that, like, I don't know if have you guys ever done ballet?
I have
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how when you're little, they get the little kids to just like do these swan arms. It was a half an hour video of doing these swan arms, and you basically were just constantly doing lateral raises. You were doing lateral raises the whole entire time, and then you would do something like pretty with your hands, and you'd hold it in an isometric hold up here, and she would do it in front of the mirror because that's what like amped her up to keep it going. And she's like, is this going to help me like lose body fat in my arms?
Probably asked if it's going to tone her arms, right?
Yeah. She was like, is this going to help me tone my arms? And I was like, how often do you do it? She's like, I do it 3 times a week. I really love it. And I was like, go for it. And then she even sent me the video of it, and she's like, oh yeah, I want to share with you like what it is. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my god. I was like, what? Like, it went against all of my like own bias beliefs. And I just remember, like, you know, my initial reaction was to, like, just piss myself laughing. because that was just like, you know,
So
me-
against what you used
yeah.
to, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I had to like swallow my pride and say, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, and I find that I'm able to like hold it for longer if I'm doing it in front of the mirror. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. And she's like, so I'll do it before I'm brushing my teeth. And I was like, yeah, just go for it. You know, if you enjoy it, you love it, go for it.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, maybe you should try. I was like, no.
We draw the line here. You do that.
I'm not
I
going to
don't.
be caught dead doing that.
But I think it's so important to understand that there's different people, they enjoy different things, and who are we to shit on them? Like,
Yeah.
if that's something you love,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah,
Might
like, I didn't-
never be something I will pick up, and that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
you, and I'm so
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I won't speak too soon because I might try this and love it and
Yeah.
start doing
Okay,
it.
maybe I shouldn't have like
Yeah.
completely like I should have
I
given
started
it a
giggling
go.
because earlier today I was doing shoulders and I was thinking, I was like, I could have
could've done
been doing
squats.
something totally different because there is some sound basis to the concept. So again, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah,
I like that point.
she's gonna have real good endurance in her shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I think if we wrap it up here, it's going to come down to lessons are good to learn. We don't want to skip the learning part. Making sure that you do things that you enjoy and no regrets. Everything happened for a reason and we all went through this for a reason. But if we were to start our journey again, we would self-sabotage less.
And
Maybe.
and to be accepting that you are always going to be
Yeah.
relearning the same
Oh,
those
yeah.
same
Yeah.
3 things.
I feel like this was really deep.
Yeah,
I
this went real
enjoyed
deep.
that.
This went real deep.
Real deep.
Hungry bears out.
Out.
Out.